graphing an integer function and finding its range for a given domain. So the problem says the function h is defined as follows for the domain given. Okay, so this is my domain, and this is going to be a discrete function. And the reason I know that is because my domain is a list of specific values, and that's all that's included in the domain. Write the range of h using set notation, then graph h. Okay, so if this is my domain, those are my x values, or my inputs into my function. The range are going to be my y coordinates on the graph and the outputs of my function. So if -2 is going to be the input, okay, I want to evaluate the function h for -2. Okay, so instead of the x, because the domain are the x values, I'm going to substitute in -2 into the function. So that means in the equation here, everywhere I have an x, I substitute in -2. Okay, so h of -2 is going to be equal to 2 times -2, which is -4 plus 1, or -3. So -3 is the y value associated with -2. So I'm going to plot that point, okay? This is my x, this is my y. And while I'm at it here, I'll just go ahead and start making my list of the range, and I'm going to use set notation because that's what they asked me for. So my range will have a -3 because that was the answer or the output of my function when I substituted in -2 as my input or my x. Okay, so now I'm going to graph the point -2, -3 right there. All right, next I need to substitute -1 into my function. So I want to evaluate the function for -1. So everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put in -1 as my input. So 2 times -1 is -2 plus 1 is -1 is my associated output. So -1 in generates a -1 out. So now I'm going to plot that coordinate pair, -1, -1, right there. Okay, now I'm going to substitute in 0 as my input, okay, my x value. So I want to evaluate the function at 0. So everywhere there's an x, I replace it with 0. So 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Okay, so when I input 0, I output 1 with my function. So I'm going to plot that point, 0, 1, right there. And lastly, I'm going to input +1. So evaluate the function for +1. Okay, means I substitute in 1 for x. And 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 gives me +3 as an output. So when I input +1, my output is +3, and I'm going to plot the point 1, 3. Okay? So if this is the domain of my function, this is the range, or the set of y values, right? The range is the set of the y values. And if I pair up these x values and y values and plot the points, then this would be the graph.